I mean, you guys have 750,000 plus subscribers on YouTube. Your content is everywhere. You're active on social platforms. So like how important, and you have a Facebook community. I know we talked briefly about that last time. So like how important is that, do you feel, in new customer acquisition and then also retention? Like how do you feel it plays a role in that?
So I think it's wildly important for both. Content and community, I've said it before, there are these two pillars for us that all business decisions, we take content and community into consideration.
I have the honor to bring on John Roman, and this is actually a second time that I brought you on, John, because you're an interesting guy. And last time, I remember we're on, and John, by the way, I'm going to give him a little spiel here in a moment so you know who he is. But John and I were on, and I remember we were diving so deep, and we ran out of time. And I'm like, we have to have another session to come in and like talk nerdy stuff around marketing, because last time was like higher level, and now we're going to like get further down a little bit for everybody here. But John Roman is actually one of the co-founders of Battlbox. And Battlbox, if you've never heard of it, a subscription brand that is a subscription box. It's like a super cool subscription box too, and one of the largest that I personally know. Now I have the luxury of, we're officially friends, John, because we're on Instagram, and I get to see all of you growing plants and all kinds of other stuff in your life. But John's a really intelligent dude. This guy knows his stuff. He has grown Battlbox along with his compadres of his team like crazy. And so, man, thanks for joining me a second time here. I appreciate it.
No, excited to be back here. Thanks for having me.
So if you could, just to give, just before we dive in, could you just give us a rundown? Like, what's your background of launching, getting to the point of Battlbox, and then kind of the quick summary version of getting to today, if you could?
Sure. All right, we'll go super quick. Parents super proud after I graduated college, decided I was going to be a professional poker player. Did that. That was career one for 4.5 years.
That's amazing.
TLDR, I was good. I was not great. I wasn't an A+ player. I was probably a B+. Ironically, got to go to the one time I've been to Australia was in that time when the Aussie Millions, it was a tournament that was there.
Nice.
So career one. Career two was B2B sales. So started off as an individual contributor. By the end of it, I had a lot of success, and I was building and managing B2B sales teams that were focused on probably, Fortune 2000, large enterprise type prospects and clients. And somehow along the way of that, I started investing in companies. I had built a network of friends, and somehow, they all had ideas. And in 2015 early, I made about 6 investments. And just to be clear, like, these are not, large investments. They were large to me at the time. But $2,000 here, $8,000 here. So it was a lot of money to me, but I was taking that and trying to invest in startups. Battlbox, the 2 friends, or I guess 3, one friend came up with the idea. I had gone to school with him, and he had brought in another friend and another person. So I guess there were 3 of them. I found out about it shortly after launch, invested in it. The concept was limited capacity, a couple hours a month, seat on the board, just try to kind of assist in challenges that they might not know how to navigate. And, that quickly changed into, I was in charge of marketing, I was in charge of sales, I was in charge of customer experience. And, I'm working a 50 to 60 hour a week normal job building sales teams. And then, but before that and after that, every night I have 50, 60 hours doing Battlbox. So 120 hours a week for close to a year. We launched in February 15. I was involved by the second week of launch. And then it wasn't until April of 2016 that I jumped in full time. as soon as I came in, some of the things that since I had bandwidth to do and tackle, we got rid of, bought out one of the partners that wasn't providing value. So it was just down to 3 of us that were the principals. We started leaning in on content. We had a gentleman that was doing reviews for us. His name is Brandon. If you watch a Battlbox video now, you're going to see him. He's the face of the brand. But he was a paying customer, and we had converted him to a free box, comp box for reviews. And we quickly negotiated and got him and his family down to Georgia so that he could be full time and just really double down, triple down on content. At the same time of that, we just really started focusing on customer experience and building a community. It was a Reddit style forum originally. Now it's a Facebook private group where you have to be an active member to be in, but just leaning in and engaging with the community while focusing on content. Fast forward, this, concentration on content led to a Netflix TV show in 2020. That was an amazing point. It was a Netflix original series and still on there. You can search Battlebox and it comes up, but it was basically a commercial for us. So we saw some exponential growth at that point. In 2021, we decided that it was the end and it was time to have that exit we were all building for. So we sold in October 2021. I think the deal size, it was around 18 million, which was phenomenal. It was, we were all gonna, out of the 3 of us, Daniel, who had come up with the idea, he was done. He had been kind of burned out for a couple years, wanted to retire, so he left. Patrick and I and our CFO, who's now one of the principals, the 3 of us stayed on. We're going to stay on for a couple of years, get these earnouts, these 7-figure paydays for sticking around. And the nuances of being with a publicly traded company and having to the constant reporting, it just wasn't a fit for us. We were making forced to kind of make short-term decisions that were good for a quarter, that were not good for the longevity of the business. Turmoil of the market during that time too. It was a SPAC, so it lost a lot of value. We saw an opportunity to buy it back. So we bought it back in April 2023, so a year ago this month. And now we're back in the driver's seat. We were in the driver's seat then, but we had a backseat driver that was very opinionated. So it's just us now in the car, and we're going.
You kicked him out.
Yeah.
You're like, kicked him on the side of the road.
They needed some cash, and we gave them some cash. So it was mutually beneficial.
Yeah. You kicked him out, but you gave them money, so you're nice about it. I like that.
Well,
hey, that's
we independently own the keys, so we had to figure it out.
Yeah, wow. So that's amazing. So what a crazy story. I think there's a lot of timing value there. 2015, getting into subscription and even get to the point of the Netflix deal in 2020 when that is the pivotal peak of online viewership.
Coming off of Tiger King, which was a couple months prior. So it was the peak.
Yeah, it was called Southern Survival. Is that right? Okay, Southern Survival. Everyone go check it out. I had to go watch it after, of course. I interviewed you last time. So get on Netflix. You then sell at the end of 2021, which I almost feel was this
time the market.
You're that example of everyone that says you can't time the market. You have to dollar cost average. You can't time the market, and you guys time the market, which is kind of amazing. Sure. But you're strategic.
It was strategic, but I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There was some luck in there. We sold at the right time.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome. It's a really cool story to hear. You buy it back. So you're now a year into running it. Are you glad that you bought it back?
Absolutely. It was, the fact that it was even being considered, there's emotional attachment, right? This is our baby. We love the customers. We love what we're building. We're passionate about it. Work doesn't feel like work. And, I'm super, super pumped that we have it back.
So bring me to now. So you buy it back last year. Would you mind sharing any numbers? Any revenue, ad spend? What did that look like for all the marketing nerds out there?
Yeah. So in 2023, We did total a little over 21 million, and then in ad spend, it was 2.5 million. Let me give me 2 seconds. I'll give you an exact number, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close. Yeah, 2,508,995
Wow.
dollars. So yeah, so 2.5 million in ad spend.
So you guys, what's interesting is so I would say my observation from most businesses, they spend between 15 and 30% of their revenue on ad spend. And you guys, if I'm just doing quick math here, I mean, you're sitting at maybe just a little over 10. So
Yeah,
you guys
our budget's 12.
Your budget's 12. I was about to say, it's probably like 12, 13.
Yeah.
So 12% is what you're allocating toward ads. That's pretty powerful. So I'm going to bet you have a pretty high or pretty low churn rate, high stick rate. Is that right?
Yeah. So, churn isn't as good as we would like.
Okay.
But the average order value, average order values north of $130. LTV on the subscription alone is over 600. And when you lay in the ancillary and one-time products, LTV is at 1,000. So because of that, our churn's currently kind of high. It's in the low teens, which, we would prefer it not be that high. But I think with the economic climate, I think, and us being discretionary income for most, it's understandable it being that high. But even though it's that high with knowing what the LTV is, you can kind of get a little bit aggressive with your customer acquisition costs.
So I would love to press into that a little bit because we work with subscription boxes and it's hard. It's hard to think, and I would say even outside of the subscription boxes, it's sometimes challenging emotionally to think about action costs and how aggressive you can be with it by understanding your 60-day, 90-day lifetime value, or even lifetime value as a whole, because sometimes you're upside down on the front end, or you're barely break even. So I'd be curious to know for you. So LTV 600, throw in the one-time stuff, it pushes to about 1,000. If you were, could you speak a little bit to how do you view new customer acquisition? How aggressive do you decide to be? Are you okay being upside down on day one, or do you have to be at a break even or profitable?
So my answer's changed through the years.
Okay.
As in a pre-pandemic, we would want to be profitable on the first purchase. In a post-pandemic buzz of when e-commerce was just booming, we still tried to do that. In a post-iOS world, in an economic challenging world that we're in today, where we saw the normalization after the boom, beggars can't be choosers. So we have to be a little bit more aggressive. Typically, and we track, when we go with aggressive offers, we track the cohort intensely. We are watching them, updating spreadsheets, knowing exactly how that cohort's behaving, which is not easy because it's a several month thing. So now we're okay with not being profitable off the first order. I want to say the last aggressive offer we did was towards the end of last year, beginning. I think we ran it December 26th through January 3rd. And we weren't profitable until the third order, which is a while. It's for us, that's greater than 90 days, pretty close to 100 with the way the schedule of the subscription billing goes. So it took us about 100 days to be profitable on that cohort. But now, it's pure profit at this point, minus cost of goods sold. But it's, that's not ideal. Just because when you are trying to scale, there's cash flow concerns there.
Yeah.
And it's not just cash flow concerns in the short term of, okay, we know we're not profitable yet. There's the ramifications of that. So because we're scaling, and we're scaling in a way that's not instantly profitable, where we have to wait 100 days, but we're also having to then order additional product that, with lead times of call it on average 5-6 months, we're having to offset and put that cash up front, or at least a portion of it. So it's not ideal, but it's manageable, and with economies of scale and with the existing base of the subscription billing, it's possible. But it's not fun.
I love talking about this stuff. This stuff gets me jazzed because it math. We trust math over emotions in marketing. We're always like, marketing is mathematical equation, not an emotional decision. And I think that it's so important to know these numbers. Like you're like subscription box LTV, boom, 600. If you factor in all the one-offs and things like that, pushes to about 1,000. And we know our profit, we know our break even. I think it's such an important thing for every business owner to know because it equips you with knowledge for confident decision making. So it sounds like you ran something a little bit more aggressive, about 100-day break even. What's your, and this is, I know that any subscription box listener right now is asking this question, like how long are you outside of that promo cycle period that puts you to 100? What's your typical break even time frame you aim for? It's realistic.
Realistically, ideally in the current scenario, the second renewal would be a conservative goal, just because you don't know how a cohort is going to behave to a certain degree, especially when you are varying offers and varying positioning and copy. It can, and better than I do, the audience that you're getting them on Meta, Facebook, Instagram, or anywhere else. You're kind of dependent at this point a little bit on the platform serving you the right people. And there's sometimes some inconsistencies of that cohort behavior. So I'd say trying to be profitable by the second is a good move because it probably limits some risk.
Okay. No, that's great. Now, so that's Facebook. So Facebook is only 12% of what you're allocating toward marketing. So what would you say your top marketing channels are that produce the most customers?
So 12% is our total advertising budget. I don't. So if we're breaking down that 2.5 million, I don't like what I see. 2023, 1.393, almost 1.4 million of it was Meta. Which I don't like being that dependent on a single platform, if I'm being honest. TikTok was 130K, Google Ads 260K. So, those are the biggest. So Google was our second and TikTok was our biggest. If you look at a previous year, TikTok was a little bit higher. If I'm being honest, I think 2024, we're going to see probably some more shift and have TikTok take a bigger chunk away from Meta. But yeah, I don't like being so dependent on a single platform, but it still works, even though it doesn't work great. And there's hiccups, like the hiccups from March. I saw you chatting in on a post. Someone was asking about it. It's like, yeah, there were some issues. But I mean, still, it performs really well.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're continuing to diversify, a lot of eggs in the Facebook basket. But if I looking at everything though, I mean, you guys are there are two things that I would love to kind of centralize around this, if that's okay, some conversation, because you have a huge emphasis on community and content. And I look at Battlbox and I'm like, how do I be like Battlbox in our industry? You guys have 750,000 plus subscribers on YouTube. Your content is everywhere. You're active on social platforms. So how important, and you have a Facebook community. I know we talked briefly about that last time. So how important is that, do you feel, in new customer acquisition and then also retention? How do you feel it plays a role in that?
So I think it's wildly important for both. Content and community, I've said it before, they're these two pillars for us that all business decisions we take content and community into consideration. So, I was looking, we were trying to extrapolate some data in a different way a couple of months ago, and it was some interesting validation. So on Meta, we're not reprospecting much. We are, but the majority of the campaigns are prospecting. And we kind of dug into this when we had started a trial on some connected TV, and we're just trying to figure out what the right mix of prospecting versus reprospecting should be on that. So we were looking at Facebook for some learnings, and it made us go down this rabbit hole. So our post-purchase survey, we added or we changed what the second question was. So the first question is, where did you first hear about us? Which is just another interesting data point to then compare against all your other data points on attribution. But the second question is, how long did you know about us before your first purchase?
That's good.
And what was wild is more than 50% know about us for greater than 6 months, which is a mind-blowing number, especially when we're not the reprospecting part of the Facebook budget is not very high. It's by all means probably lower than probably best practices. But the reality is, it says it's prospecting, but a lot of it's reprospecting. Just we hadn't pixeled them previously, but they're aware because they're watching us on TikTok, they're watching us on YouTube, they're ingesting our content, and it's a slow build, right? Which you and I have had similar discussions about that in general for other aspects of business.
Wow, I want to pause real fast. I think anybody needs to that's listening needs to write this down. If you're not surveying your customers, and by the way, I don't ask our customers this, and I'm going to start doing this right now. So John said two things. Number one, where did you first hear about us? And then number two, how long did you know about us? That's interesting to see. More than 50% were more than 6 months. So it definitely speaks to the fact that you're organic and the content that you're creating is pulling in stuff.
It's just long in the tooth.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you have this huge focus on. I'd love to, as someone would say, double click into the content side here. So I just want to double click in here. What is the how when you say you two pillars, content, community? What does the content look like for you? Not like we do this many posts and this many, but what channels are you doing that you're seeing the greatest return and just value in being on over time?
Yeah, so ironically, we're seeing the greatest engagement and the greatest return on the platforms we spend the least on, which is just weird. We Instagram and Facebook, we see some success with content, and we'll hit some some virality in videos, and we'll be able to kind of correlate and cross-reference that to understand traffic. But we're oftentimes, more times than not, getting that same virality on the other channels because it's a similar piece of content at the same time. TikTok and YouTube are where we're seeing the biggest organic success. And ironically, those are our two largest channels from a subscriber follower count. But we're going on some of the platforms, there's some content we do exclusively for a specific platform because we just know how that platform works per se. But a lot of the content, even if it's a slight variation, is very similar across the board.
So you're saying you take your short form content and you're just repurposing that across the board, but you see the greatest virality or just reach and value in TikTok and YouTube?
Yeah, and to be clear, on YouTube, it is the short form video content as well.
That's getting you the most value as far as platform goes.
Yeah, so we do long form, and we have typically 2 to 3, sometimes 4 or 5 long form, decently long videos a month, but they just don't. We have our Battlbox loyalists that are going to watch it, but it doesn't move the needle like the short form video content does.
Okay.
And to be fair, we're not making this content about Battlebox. We're making it about our industry, about outdoor gear, about testing gear, doing funny stuff. It's genuine, right? It's not saying, okay, time to buy your Battlebox. Like, that's not the content anybody wants. Nobody wants to be sold to.
Yeah. So did you guys did you do YouTube from like day one?
We did.
You did. Okay.
Yeah, so we did YouTube. When we launched in February 2015, YouTube was one of our channels. We weren't really coming up with our own content. In the beginning, when Brandon was still not a part of the team, we had permission to take his video that he had posted on his channel, post it on ours. When he came on full time, that was the one video we were doing a month. And we grew. We were growing maybe 400 or 500 subscribers a month over time. In the latter part of 2021, the latter part of 2021, we had been having for almost the whole year a lot of success on TikTok. We had gone from 0 to a few 100,000 at that point. I think we had 200,000 or 300,000 followers on there, and that was the moment where it was apparent that both Meta and Google were going to treat short form content a little bit better than they should on the algorithm, because they were in fear of TikTok taking their lunch. So they quickly treated short form video content like gold. We took, the last 8 months we had of TikTok content, and we started repurposing it for YouTube Shorts.
Nice.
And we immediately went from the 55,000 subscribers we had within weeks and months. We went from 500 new subscribers in a month to, okay, we're getting a couple thousand, to a few thousand, to, oh my God, we're over 100,000. And it's just been a slow climb. And now we're at, 750,000, trying to figure out how to get. We've got that silver one. We really want the gold one. That's not that it means anything. It's just vanity, but I still want it.
Yeah, it's so cool. That's really awesome. I think it also just speaks to like the value of consistency. Like you were doing it for over 5 years, like just regular long form and other content for over 5 years until you're getting to 50 something thousand, only for your moment of opportunity to arise and you be prepared to just annihilate it. And you just hit that.
With no results.
Yeah,
that's little results.
That's pretty well deserved, I would say. I don't think if the opportunity came along and you had not been doing what you had been doing, you would not have been able to seize the opportunity. So it was a 5+ year venture to now getting almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube. That's pretty cool. Now, I'd love to kind of jump over to the community side if we could, because last time we spoke, you talk about how do you have a free Facebook community, or is it only for your members?
It's only for members.
Only for members. Okay, perfect. So somebody subscribes to Battlbox and they're able to join the Facebook community. Can you just talk through like what do you do in the community? What's the value of the community?
Sure. So the value at the highest level is just connecting like-minded individuals, right? So you like camping gear, you like hiking gear, you like prepping. You're going to find some friends and some similar people in the group. The superficial benefits, we do giveaways every week, right? So it's only for active members. We get thousands of dollars delivered to us every single day of samples and product. Hey, I want to be in Battlbox. And for, all of our sanity, we can't hold on to all of it. We can't hoard. But, who would appreciate it just as much are customers, our members. So we give samples away every week. There's some exclusive giveaways too. Brandon will go live most weeks in there. And just talk to the community, do giveaways too live, but also just answer questions. We're talking about when the box drops, which dropped this morning, several team members will be in the Facebook group answering questions about product that everyone just received. We're sometimes dropping teasers about the upcoming box. It's just, it's a way to touch, not everyone's in there, but a large amount of our customers are. It's just a unique way to touch them and interact with them. We're not the biggest company in the world, but we're some decent size now. And I think there's a coolness factor that, the CEO, the CFO, the head of marketing, Brandon, the face of our brand, head of procurement, Shay, that we're all in this group interacting. You can tag me on a Facebook post asking me a question, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to answer.
Wow.
And it's a cool approach. We have our CS team in there too. So if there's ever any issue, we can kind of streamline it. It's a good experience.
And I have to ask, if someone cancels their subscription, do you search them in there and boot them out?
Yes.
You do? Wow. That's a lot of work.
So we do it in batches.
Okay.
It's the only part of the current setup of it being a members only Facebook group that is not automated, which is kind of frustrating because we can't figure out how to automate it. But we have a master sheet, if you will. So when anybody gets brought in and approved to go, and they go on this master sheet where the moderator team does track them. So we'll occasionally do audits and go through, and if someone isn't active anymore, it's not as simple as, okay, they just canceled. I mean, if they just canceled, they still just recently paid, likely. So there's a little bit of a window.
Gotcha.
We're not going to say, oh, you paid today, and you canceled your subscription, you're out. You just paid, so you should get some benefit of this group before you're removed. But you will be removed.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. So 2 big pillars of Battlbox we have, other than ads, we have content and community. Just to recap some things here, short form is really crushing for you guys. TikTok, YouTube, a lot of value sitting in there right now. And then you've been doing this community thing. You actually build a community for all of your customers, which I think is pretty amazing that you do that. It might be a little bit of manual work when people are canceling, but even at the size of company you are, I think that will tell most people listening that are under that size that it's not too manual. Like, I think a lot of people listening might be like, well, that's a lot of work. I can't do all of that. And you guys did 21 million last year, and you're still manually removing people because you clearly see value in that. Yeah.
And as we grew the group, the members group, it's a little over 10,000 people in it right now.
Wow.
We have five moderators in the group, and these moderators were Battlbox customers. I mean, they still are Battlbox customers, members, and they were super engaged in the group. And they were, they always say act or dress for the part you want. They were leaders. They were showing leadership, and it became abundantly clear you should be a moderator. So we're going to give you your box for free moving forward, but at the same level, just continue moderating and continue making sure it's a positive environment. And they manage and maintain the master sheet. They let people in. They welcome new people. When someone gets out of control, they depending on how bad it is, they either just remove them or they loop us in so we can make a decision if they need to be removed. But it's a non-paid role, but it's of huge value, and you likely have customers that would want to do this. I'm passionate about brands, and it's a cool thing, right? You get to be even closer to a brand that you respect and want to be a part of.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I do have 3 final closing questions for you, if that's all right, John.
Okay.
3 things. Number 1, what percentage of your new customers do you think comes from advertising? If you were to just ballpark a percentage of new customers that comes from ads.
So I would say 70%, but it comes from ads as in like the ads are putting them over. They came top of funnel through something else, and then the ad just pushed them into signing up.
Okay.
So 70-80%.
Okay. And what's a book that's changed your life?
What's a book that changed my life?
Yeah.
Don't have one.
You don't have one? You're not a book guy, huh?
I'm not.
That's all right.
Let's see. What book is this?
Just give me the closest book you see on your bookshelf, and we'll just take that.
The Daily Dad.
The Daily Dad.
Okay.
I think that's
let's
suiting
see, what else?
because John just had a baby like 2 months ago.
All right. I'm trying to see what other books we have here.
Find the smartest book you can find. He just reads the thesaurus. Last question for you, John. If you can go back, this is 2015, if you can go all the way back in time when you started, like what's one thing that you would do differently to get to where you are now a lot faster? What's something you would do differently than knowing what you know now that would get you here a lot quicker?
Moving faster and never slowing down sales. So I mean, it's not apples to apples versus now because it's tough to get the customer acquisition cost you could get back in the day, but I think that it still presents itself where oftentimes we'd be like, okay, we've got to pause ads because we're selling too much, and like we need to figure that out. I think it's just you keep scaling the ads, and it's a good problem to have, and you can figure it out. You can get more product, and if there's a delay, just be transparent and honest with your customers. Like, we oversold, we're waiting on some additional stuff, and I think customers, for the most part, if you're honest with them and tell them, I'm sure some will want a refund, but like just go and don't wait. If you find something, and I think it's even more true now in a post iOS world, where when you find something that's scaling and working, like keep scaling and working. If that means you oversell, that means you oversell, unless your model is sell to a part, kind of a supply and demand drop model. But if it's not, then just go. Because it might not work in a couple weeks, right? You might find a campaign that for whatever reason is scaling and skyrocketing, and Meta might make a change in their algorithm, and all of a sudden it's not performing and it's not getting the CPMs or CACs you want.
That's good. So 70 to 80% touch ads in some capacity for new customers. You read the thesaurus and continue moving faster. Don't slow down the sales and just keep the pedal going.
Yeah.
Keep the gas pouring on. I love that.
Read the thesaurus. Exactly.
Yes. John, hey, thanks for joining, man. I appreciate you. Everyone here appreciates you. You're rocking it over there at Battlbox, and I'll keep watching from Instagram, watching you water your indoor plants and all that cool stuff. And also, I'm sure we'll have you back on, and we'll be talking about the next level of growth that you guys are having. So appreciate you. And everyone listening, this is the Ecommerce Alley podcast, produced by the legendary Dylan Counts behind the scenes. And from John and myself, we want to say thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.